This is things you might not have heard, and I am Jay Clifton Payne. In the queue today, 10 news stories from the weekend that you vetted as conversational, covering information, politics, current events, and pop culture news. We're talking March Madness because you cannot break my soul. We're opening up with Happy today. Also, Savannah Bananas, which is happy for them, not so happy for MLB and the Kennedy Center, and some not so happy things for JD Vance, plus a lot of Donald Trump things in between. The vetting process we'll explain in just a bit once we get through all the headlines, tell you how these stories came to be the ones you said you wanted to talk about, and now I'm talking about them right here. But first, remind you that our website, this is theconversationproject.com, our home for all the stuff that is Conversation Project. Check it out anytime you feels, and also when you feels like it, email us at theconversationinbox@gmail.com. We can talk, we can chat, we can ask questions, we can conversate, we can get more into this. This is not a monologue show. This is not just a headline show. This is really a dialogue between you and what you think you want to talk about and what I think you want to talk about. And then we talk about it and we figure out if we're both right. Check it out at the website. This is theconversationproject.com. Yesterday was Selection Sunday, meaning yesterday was Sunday. Today is Monday, March 17th, 2025. Happy St. Patrick's Day to all you guys. Don't own green, so I'm not doing that one. But let's get into the headlines as I see them from you, seeing them fairly good. And the big news, March Madness is almost upon us. This week starts the tournaments for both the men and the women for the 2025 NCAA men's basketball tournaments. Let's start off with the men's top seeds. Auburn, the South region, Duke, the East region, Houston, the Midwest region, and Florida, the West region. For the women, oh, don't forget the ladies. They've got a great schedule coming up as well. They are opening up with, scroll too far down in the tournament in just a second. The women are going to have their say with UCLA, the number one overall seed, knocking out USC for the top seed, but they do have their top seed number one as well. Texas is in there for top seed, and South Carolina going on forward. Now, lots of great matchups going on. A lot of Ivy League representation for the women, a lot of SEC representation for the men. 14 teams of, I believe, 16. They keep adding folks. 14 of the 16 SEC teams are in the tournament, so there's a good chance they will win. A good chance it will be Auburn, who was the number one seed to start off the year, and hopefully make it all the way. Although I'm not the biggest Auburn fan, we'll see what happens on that end. Your games start this Tuesday, tomorrow, with the first four for the men, and the tournaments, your brackets are due on Thursday as we get into March Madness for the first weekend, the first two rounds from Thursday, Friday, and Friday, Saturday. Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, Sunday, something like that. It's crazy. It's madness. We'll lose about $20 billion in productivity, but guess what? The world will come together despite all the chaos because of March Madness. Pick your teams, whether you pick by mascots, by uniforms, or you think you know what teams are actually better than the other. Get them signed up, put in a couple dollars. You'll be better for it. Next four are all government stories. The last one in this batch, not so much government, but a government person. Let's start off with what happened if you were sitting under a rock, living on the rock, being in rocks last weekend. You may have realized that we're supposed to have a government shutdown, which we did not have. Now, the Senate voted to avert this government shutdown, and it overshadowed by infighting by the Democrats. The Democrats are in a civil war that is pretty much obvious. They are ready to tear each other apart. And one way that it was shown just out in the open was with Chuck Schumer. Chuck Schumer went on a tear early last week talking about how they could not support what the Republicans put down as a bill to keep the government funding, only for days before, literally hours before, to say, I'm going to vote for it. I need more folks to vote for it. They initially got 9, I believe, Democrats to come to the other side. They needed 60 votes to actually pass it. It would only fit 3 Republicans in the Senate. They needed, at least 7, and they got 9, so they had to go over that one. But with Chuck Schumer leading the charge to unlead the charge, many other Democrats are leading the charge to get rid of Chuck Schumer in the Senate. It is going to be a pretty interesting week going forward, as if you want to call it the walk of shame, you can call it that. What we have is a real failure to communicate between the gaps in the Democratic Party. The one shot the Democrats had to basically be stalwart and stand up against Donald Trump, and the Republicans was basically letting this thing go. The problem was they didn't want to be blamed for the shutdown, which makes sense because whoever gets blamed for the shutdown gets really, really, really bad ratings going forward. We'll see how this thing plays out. They now have till September to figure something out. So the point was to keep the government open till September, take the next 6 months to negotiate something better and come forward. Chances are they won't negotiate anything better. The last week of September will be another frantic time to extend on the new CR, and we'll have the same fight again, literally in 6 months. So Trump invoked the Alien Enemies Act to deport migrants, despite a court order telling him not to. He put it out there. He did anyway. The courts actually held him back. Now, let's talk about the Alien Enemies Act. It came around in 1798, meant to expedite the deportation of alleged members of the Venezuelan gang Tren Araga. Now, that's what he used it for. But it's a wartime statute used to get rid of the people that are in your country that are prisoners to send them away. These are gang members who are in jails, and so he used this act as a way to just send them back to home. And he used it with everything but Eric Adams in the Perp Walk. It was a glorious show of jailers walking through prisoners with shackles all together, putting them onto planes, putting them on the buses, getting them off of planes in Venezuela. Now, here's the deal. As they were in the air, literally the planes were in the air, the judges said, no, you can't do this, pull them back. And since they're in the air, Trump was like, well, they're in international airspace, so we're good. And 300 of the immigrants, 300 of the gang members were sent home and taken off the planes and given more perp walks that were great shows of force, great shows for TV, great pictures work, but it's there. Now, there's a 14-day temporary restraining order on this deportation. So basically, they can't put anybody on any planes at this point right now, but anyone that was in the air essentially got landed into their home country to get rid of all these gang members. Now, for people who are looking at Donald Trump saying he's getting rid of all these bad people, this looks like a good thing, and it's not necessarily a bad thing. The problem comes when we talked about a story over the weekend. We didn't actually put it in here because there's so many other things. A story about a Canadian woman who had a visa, went home to Canada, it was revoked, and tried to come back to the States to file a new visa and was arrested. There's a point where you have to draw the line between gang members with tattoos looking to actually kill and sell drugs and actresses who want to just, get another role in another really bad movie. You can't do this just even-handed, because even-handed on the hard side means everybody's a criminal, everybody's going to jail. She was held in detention for weeks in some very cruel conditions, including shackles around her feet, walking around. So she knows she couldn't dance. She could barely get around when she was being moved around to various deportation places. And she's just a Canadian actress. These guys here, while very bad dudes and probably don't deserve even what little sort of modicum of kindness they got in this case, there are case studies for people who actually do deserve modicum of kindness, because if you treat these people like this, why not treat the other ones the same way? That's where you get to. Even-handedness works when people are being even-handed on the benevolent side, the side that's for good, not the side that's for evil. Like, you get the point. So we have about 300 migrants who actually got sent to El Salvador, getting out of the States, and will be held there because El Salvador's like, yeah, we'll hold them, versus the ones that are still waiting to be sent away. Donald Trump is set to speak, this week, Tuesday is expected, to Russian-Ukrainian ceasefire talks with Mr. Vladimir Putin. They will have a discussion to talk about how to get Putin to a table at some point in time. Now, the talks are going on for the actual ceasefire between folks who aren't from Ukraine or for Europe and the United States and some people from Russia in Saudi Arabia, I guess. The folks that actually have a stake in it, the people who live there, Ukrainians, they're sort of there, but they're not really in negotiations. But the proposed 30-day ceasefire to basically stop fighting and deal with the actual details of ending the war are in place, even though Russia is throwing in a whole lot of things to say, well, we really want these things here. Well, can I get these things here? What about undercoating? Can I get some floor mats? Just throwing things out there to sort of slow down these talks for the actual ceasefire, to slow down the talks for the actual ending of the war conflict. We will see what happens, but Trump is expressing optimism when reaching this deal, stating we want to see it and we want to bring this war to an end. Trump wants to do this for many reasons. One, he promised it on day one, which he's now saying he was kind of in jest. And two, Nobel Peace Prize aspirations. He tried to do the same thing in Israel with Gaza before, and it didn't quite work out. And now we have this other thing that did happen under Biden. So now Trump's going to just do scorched earth and get rid of all Palestinians to get rid of the terrorist group that is hiding within Palestinians and build a golf course. We also have the fact that Trump thinks he knows everything. He believes he knows everything. He says he knows everything, so he thinks he can fix it all. We shall see how much of the things he can fix. I have said my opinion on the things that he is breaking in the process right now and that are maybe unfixable. for lack of a better word. But right now, he is the only person who can basically bring Putin to the table. It's pretty much a done deal that's the only way that's going to happen. So we have to play along with what's going to happen. Will we get a very good, very great, beautiful ceasefire and beautiful end to the war soon without Ukraine having to seize too many things in the process, like I just give themselves up? We're going to have to see. Before we take our break, our last story that is government sort of related, although it's not so much government, it's actually J.D. Vance and his wife, who were heckled by a crowd at the Kennedy Concert Center at a concert at the Kennedy Center. At a concert at the Kennedy Center. That's where it was. So Vice President J.D. Vance getting some of the Vice President Pence motion, where he got heckled at a screening of Hamilton on Broadway, where that guy and his crowd basically shouted him down from the stage. Lin-Manuel Miranda. Monday's not working on the voice today. Basically, some folks in the crowd at the Kennedy Center booed J.D. Vance for essentially all sort of things J.D. Vance and Donald Trump. The rival with the boos and jeers from the audience, some shouting, "You ruined this place," disrupting some of the concert, delaying it by 25 minutes due to heightened security measures, basically having to send people outside of the building for the vice president to get in, and to send people outside the building after they just got really rowdy. The reaction is linked to many changes to the Kennedy Center that aren't so much Vance's problem, but Donald Trump's problem. Because back in February, of course, he appointed himself as the chairman of the institution, installed more people to the void, including Usha Vance, the wife of J.D. Vance, and, of course, some notable names that are in the media that we talked about, Miriam Bartiromo and Laura Ingraham. Lin-Manuel Miranda, now it's going to read it there in Shonda Rhimes, that actually pulled their works from the upcoming season because of this. And I think many people aren't so happy about that. They want to really see Hamilton in the theater there at Kennedy Center, and it's not going to happen. So this is Vice President Vance getting a bit of the Vice President Pence action, being heckled by the people, and sometimes, in some cases, by the people on stage for actions that seem to be not quite as American as it could be. It's time to pause in the news stories. 5 down, 5 more to go. We give you 10 stories for this Monday because of the 3-day extravaganza. That is the chances to gather these stories. So we'll talk about how these stories got here in a moment. But first, we need to talk about how you guys can stay here so we can get more stories in at that point. This is where we ask you to like, share, and subscribe to the videos, to our audios, to our newsletter, to the stuff we do, so we have more people in the queue. Now, this video is pushed to you live to tape, but live on Facebook, on X, and on YouTube. And to get more people to watch these things in their algorithms, just like it. Like it so that you can see what I can see what you like, and the algorithms can see what you like as well. And we'll both do more to share with other folks and to do more stuff like this one. The right commentary, the right news, the right amount of stuff going forward. If you know people who enjoy this type of news and commentary, share it directly with them. Hopefully they will like it and share as well. If you're not subscribed to this to get this naturally in your feeds, subscribe today. And we have other ways to subscribe. So if you don't like this videos form, there's other forms at our website for short videos at TikTok. We also have the audio podcast and the email newsletter. You can find those links at our website as well. But like, share, and subscribe so we grow more people in our culture, our news nerd nation, if you will, more people to be conversational in the deals. And we'll explain how the stories get into the conversation, how they get here in just a bit. Actually, after 5 more stories. And back to the news with story at number 6 today, and that is cybersecurity officials warn of costly Medusa ransomware attacks. So be on the lookout for a ransomware attack that may be happening, as the FBI and Cybersecurity Infrastructure Security Agency, CISA, have issued warnings about Medusa, a ransomware as a service, or RAAS, that's been in operation since 2021. This malicious software has impacted over 300 organizations across critical infrastructure sectors, including healthcare, education, legal, insurance, technology, and manufacturing. This is something I look forward to looking for, and not forward to seeing as an IT professional at my job. One of my parts at my real job is managing the IT parts. And when things happen, every time there's a phishing thing, trust me, I get 12 copies of the phishing email. This is something I don't want to have to deal with. Medusa employs a double extortion model and encrypts victims' data and threatens to publicly release the information if a ransom is not paid. The group utilizes phishing campaigns to exploit and unpatched software vulnerabilities to gain access to systems, which is why every time we get a phishing email, and I get 12 of them back from my users, I send another back saying, "Thank you for being vigilant. If you weren't vigilant, please don't click this email." To mitigate the risk of Medusa, cybersecurity events agencies are actually recommending a couple things to do. Patches should be managed. Multi-factor authentication on anything. It's a pain in the butt, but it's there. Network segmentation. Make sure that everything's not on the same drive. Everything's not in the same network. Things are have some sort of separation physically and partitionally, so that if they get through one thing, a firewall will keep them out of others. Filtering traffic, blocking access to unknown origins. Some of my actual websites, my news websites, are supposed to be helpful, get blocked by our systemware because I'm bad with security certificates, unfortunately. And that's a good thing in these cases going forward. Now, the ransomware is a bad thing. Data leaks, of course, are terrible. And victims can pay up to $10,000 or even more based on what's going on. Basically, the going rate is about $10,000 in the cryptocurrency of their choice because it can't be tracked, or technically can be tracked, but it's always there. It's there. It's an easy, quick way to get it away with your stuff. You can basically split it off to someplace else. You can use it to pull it off the blockchain and move to other crypto and go back and forth and keep it out there for yourselves. Look about this. CISA and FBI are definitely into this thing, making sure that you are safe. But look for it. Medusa's been out there for a while, so this is a known entity. Don't let it be unknown to you and your network in the future. For the number 7 story today, we go to Reddit because Reddit's having a bit of backlash on freedom of information, freedom of speech, in a way that's interesting. We talked this weekend about the United States pulling funds for Voice of America. First, they pulled funds for their subscriptions to services. Then they basically put everybody on leave. And people are basically yelling at me because they're saying, no, they're actually liberal idiots who are spreading lies about America. They're making it worse. I beg to differ. Here's a chance where people are seeing the better parts or the worst parts of themselves being blocked, as there's backlash for people cracking down, Reddit themselves, on Luigi Mangione content. There's been a moderation efforts to basically weed out some of the more, let's say, salacious things about the man who shot the man in the street in cold daylight, in cold blood, in broad daylight, in cold blood. United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson. Now, they prohibited the sharing of Mangione's manifesto, also citing other policies promoting violence. Moderators have been instructed to remove posts and comments featuring or endorsing the manifesto itself, with non-compliance protection leading to user bans or subreddit closures. And people are pissed. Crackdown sparking significant backlash with Reddit users because that's where they get information. The automatic moderation tools are flagging the term Luigi and potentially for anything violent. So other Luigi things are getting pulled in there. Even Luigi, the cartoon character, because it's doing it in an AI fashion where it doesn't really know what it's doing. But the biggest issue is the ecosystem that's supposed to be there to share information is not sharing information that may be needed to be shared. Now, let me step out of my original bubble on stuff like that, spreading information that's really not information. I don't have a problem with people getting information that is foul, if you will. So people want to see the sort of real ideas behind Luigi Mangione's ideas for what made him do the thing he did. I don't have a problem behind that. I do have a problem with overuse and using it to glorify your platform, so there's that. But for people having access to the manifesto, I'm not the person who thinks just because something exists, it will, it's going to actually indoctrinate people into it. I'm not a banned books person by any means. I want people to have the rights to do stuff. And if you don't want to talk about it, you talk to the people in your circle and say, we don't want to talk about it, we don't do with it, and make it initial. I talk with my children. I've talked to my children about the books they have read or are reading, the 12-year-old, the book she is reading. And we monitor and see what's going on. And if we don't like it, we talk about it. We will either talk about it as she reads it, or we'll talk about it and tell her why she's not reading it. And we go from there. I guess I have a problem with Reddit being sort of a den of just trash itself, but them basically dispromoting the manifesto is slightly a problem. This promoting some of the crazy, he's so cute stuff, that's not a problem. And weeding out Luigi, the brother of Mario, as opposed to Luigi, the guy who shot the guy, is an issue as well. But this is something that we'll have to contend with until the end of time, I'm sure, at least through the trial where we get some sort of resolution of what happens. Even though when you have pictures of the guy shooting somebody in the head, it's hard to find him not guilty. So the Savannah Bananas are a sensation, but they're a sensation that the Major League Baseball fans or the Major League Baseball, the people who are running Major League Baseball have issues with. The embarrassing crowd at the Savannah Bananas game is actually the opposite. The Savannah Bananas draw a record crowd in Tampa at the Raymond James Stadium, a football stadium that held 65,000 fans to see the Bananas do their thing. The Bananas are a barnstorming team. They're a non-affiliated team that goes into towns and put on a show. They're like the Globetrotters in baseball. And they are streaking across the nation in so many ways. It's amazing. Well, something I found out when I attended a chamber meeting here in where I live in North Little Rock, where I work, is that the new owner of our minor league baseball team there, the Arkansas Travelers, actually owns the Savannah Bananas. So we are affiliated with them in a way there. But the Bananas come into towns. They come into towns where they can draw big people, and that's why they played at the football stadium, not the baseball stadium, so they can basically bring in twice as many fans out there. Fans on social media are going nuts about the sellout at the football stadium, and the crowds at the Rays attendance are not being the same. And the look is bad for MLB because the Savannahs draw more eyeballs for what is a silly bunch of guys playing baseball, and it's showing that the people showing up for actual Major League Baseball games don't have the right something out there, or maybe the fact that the season is so long and so protracted, and for Tampa itself, nobody's coming to the games because the team isn't necessarily all that great. The Bananas are a AAA minor league team, although they are unaffiliated. So on average with them, they are doing much, much better than others because they play in smaller ball fields, goes to local crowds. But to be able to come into a town, bring a lot of sensation, bring a lot of people in to watch the antics of the Bananas and do more things is a big deal for baseball, except it's a bad deal for Major League Baseball because that means they have to do the same for the rest of the stuff. Now the Yankees are not wearing beards, or not Yankees are wearing beards, what will they add to the repertoire? Will they start doing hot dog races? Who knows, to bring up the cases. But the Bananas are doing great stuff for America. We'll see what they'll do for Major League Baseball in the rivalry. I don't know what's in the water these days, but other than the planes falling out of the sky, people trying to crash into planes, like run into planes like when they're late, is becoming a trend that's not great. And if you've seen this story, and trust me, I posted the story without actually seeing the picture. And I saw the picture as I pulled it up because Facebook went nutballs over this one. How this guy thinks he's getting away with it, I don't know. A passenger on United Airlines has been banned after knocking out a gate attendant at a D.C. airport. And if you're watching the video, you see the picture there. This happened a few days ago, to March 13th. A violent incident, so says Robot Editor, at Washington Dulles Airport involving United Airlines passenger. His name Christopher Stewart Crichton. He is 54 years old. He's from Frederick, Maryland. He was frustrated by a flight cancellation and subsequently booking issues, so he attempted to access a restricted gate. We've had plenty of those these days. The gate agent intervened, said no access. Crichton declared, "I'm done with this BS," saying the wolf word, before striking the agent in the face, rendering him unconscious. One punch. This guy should be up for the new boxing league that they're pulling up for TKO. But following the assault, the airport authorities promptly arrested Crichton, charging him with assault and disorderly conduct. The injured gateway agent received medical attention at the local hospital. In response to the incident, United Airlines imposed a lifetime ban on Crichton, prohibiting him from all future flights and the carrier. And finally, it is time, because a 17-year periodical Cicada Emergence is ahead this spring. A 17-year periodical Cicada. A 17-year periodical Cicada. I don't know what's going on today. A 17-year-old periodical Cicada. Good Lord. A 17-year-old periodical Cicada Emergence is emerging this spring. Somewhere in this thing, I'll get this right because I really want to use this as a clip. A 17-year periodical Cicada Emergence are ahead this spring. That works. This spring, Brood XIV, a group of 17-year periodical cicadas, is set to emerge across parts of the United States. You're going to be lucky with this stuff, or unlucky if you live in Georgia, Kentucky, Indiana, Massachusetts, North Carolina, New Jersey, New York, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, Virginia, and West Virginia, Mountain Mamas, as the cicadas have spent 17 years underground and will surface when the soil temperatures consistently reach about 64 degrees Fahrenheit, late April, mid-May. So once above ground, they'll engage in brief, intense periods of mating, a whole lot of sex, characterized by males producing loud, buzzing calls to attract females. They are loud, they are horny, they will last about 6 weeks of this stuff. They will die out, and they will go back underground to wait another 17 years. Yes, cicadas are harmless to humans and pets. They can pose risks to young trees due to egg-laying practices. The homeowners in affected areas are advised to protect saplings with netting to prevent potential damage, because the trees are what they're looking for amongst themselves, but the trees are what they're looking for. And the noise, oh, the noise will be so, so terrible, but you'll know it is spring again. And after 17 years, the cicadas are back to do what cicadas do. And that's ironically a whole lot of doing is what cicadas do. We've wrapped up the news for the day. We're now at the teaser section where we talk about the stories that we are going to bring to you and how you get to piece what we put out into our progress, put out into our process, put it into our works. We have feeds, what we call feeds on Facebook and X. Facebook.com/thisconversationproject and X.com/th_conversation. Those feeds are links on those platforms where every 50 minutes or so we post news articles for you to engage in. And this is what we do. We wait for you to engage in stories across the day, and then we'll pick some stories to present into next iteration next day. Today we had 10 stories. We posted them all weekend long from Friday to early this morning, and you gave engagement to your scores. You liked, you loved, you hated, you put the right emoji face, so the wrong emoji face, and you shared and you commented. And the more engagement the story got, better chance we had to talk about them. We took the top 30 or so stories from the weekend and gave you these 10 right here. The cicada story was a little bit of a lower end one, but we want to make sure you knew ahead of time. You got plenty of heads up that cicadas are coming, because they are. So that's all they got here. For tomorrow, the Tuesday edition, we're going to take the 30 or so stories you get for today, Monday, and pick half of those, 15 or so, and give you 8 from those picks there as well. And you have to give us an idea what's going on there. And if you don't like the stories we pick, you can complain on the back end inside either the comments, or you can talk about them in email to me at theconversationinbox@gmail.com. So you have to engage in the stories. You and whatever random internet folks get on the things will tell us what stories to talk about. I am telling you, that story about the man who punched a guy at the airport, it was bonkers on my Facebook channel monitoring over here. It was insane. And so while it didn't get the big Twitter love that you would think, it was so overwhelming over here that it just could not be missed. You Facebook folks loved that story over the weekend. So the story we're going to hype up right now, along with the other ones we're posting all day long in the feeds, is this one that could affect you, possibly because of your money. Gold is hovering near record highs as U.S. growth concerns are fanning the haven demand. Gold as a haven for your money has always been there because you can buy gold. You see all the commercials for it. It's a staple of conservative radio and television where people are saying the government's going to be shut down any moment now, so buy gold. Put your money in gold. Because the money's looking funny right now, people are buying gold, lots of gold. You may want to look into some sort of gold funds. I've actually bought some gold funds, added to my portfolio lately just to see how it goes. It is actually staying steady. Everything else is fluctuating up and down. Gold is staying steady in my funds, at least. So if you're looking for a way to harbor a little extra security in your securities while these things are being worked out, gold may be the thing to go to. But check out the link for the story first and see how you think about this one. Now, we talked about teasing the Pentagon ordering reviews into military standards, with fitness and grooming being number ones. They did not quite make the cut, so we didn't talk about them in the 10 stories here, but you could have us talk about gold tomorrow if that's what you want to do. Follow us on our feeds on Facebook and X, and email us, theconversationinbox@gmail.com, and give us a little bit of nudging if you want to as well. We're going to spend some time this week promoting us, the Conversation Project, and More Better Media. And More Better Media is a larger umbrella that holds the Conversation Project and has a lot of properties that talk about a lot of things. More of those things are more centered and more targeted. Some of it's personal development, some of it is business. This one is politics or political action, if you will. We're talking about the Now What Manifesto, or the Now What Network, which is a website called at nowwhat.network. And the Now What Manifesto is a network. Now What Network Manifesto, the full name of the book, is a book I wrote and produced right at the time for the election, because I had an idea how things were going to go, and I wasn't very happy about where it's going. I wanted to make sure I did my part. Now, if you follow me on the sister channel for this one, you're welcome. You know I do not have much love for Mr. Donald J. Trump. I'm all about him here on this channel for team content, but you also hear in my words, in my parts of commentary, that I'm still not a fan of Donald J. Trump. And I'm not a fan in the overall sense of how politics are working in all levels these days. So I wrote this book going back to my time doing radio, working in talk radio, talking to politicians, talking to people, doing news articles and talking to them about the things they're doing, being able to see what's going on each way, and talking to some folks, activists and things like that, on what to do for people who feel like they're powerless after the election of Donald J. Trump, or people that feel like they're empowered after the election of Donald J. Trump, and they've come to realize that some of the things that he's doing aren't exactly the greatest things that he's pledged to do, or not actually great for them. Now, this is using citizen power to make your voice and your vote actually matter in national politics, but it trickles down to all levels of politics as well. If the candidate that you pushed for, you voted for, you wanted to run, gets in the office, and then they don't actually do what they promised to do, these are things to do to make sure they can stay accountable. If the candidate that you wanted did not make it in, and the person who made it in there are doing things that you do not want them to do, these are things to help keep them accountable. If the candidate you didn't want in there didn't make it, and you want to kind of help them next time, these are things to help them booster up their campaigns and grow so that they may have a better chance in the next election. These are tips that work for local, for national elections. I guess there'd be global elections sometime in time when the new world order takes over. I guess it's all global. But these are things you can use all over the place for whatever. If federal elections, or just your local school board, or if you're like me, I'm on my board for my HOA. For us there, people can use these things to kind of, tell us what to do, make sure we're doing what they want as well. Check out the book and check out the website. The website is nowwhat.manifesto. But the book link is here in the description of this broadcast. It's got a bunch of little dashes and numbers and whatnot, so I'm not going to go into that. It's on Amazon in Kindle and paperback form. It's also on other platforms for books because they have it there. It's in some independent bookstores in Maine somewhere because they asked for them. So I said, sure, what's going on? So if you're in Maine and you've got this book or any of my books, let me know. But if you got it anywhere, just in general, let me know if you picked this one up. It's called the Now What Network Manifesto. $10 for paperback, $5 for Kindle version. And this is some things you can do. If you feel powerless, you feel like what you're doing isn't all that useful right now, then try this book. Try this platform. Go to the website and look for, I put out weekly articles on things to do to help keep you either motivated or give you tips to keep on keeping on going forward. This is something that was inspired by my fake auntie Mary. She's not my blood auntie, but she's like an auntie here, who is always sending me political clips, always sending me stuff, and remind me to show up for things, and I show up for things when she says to do those things, because being involved is what it all comes down to. You don't have to say a lot, do a lot, spend a lot, but you've got to actually know a little bit and be involved as much as you possibly can to go out there. And these days, these times, it's starting to look like it's getting a bit dangerous. I did not have to face water cannons and dogs like folks in my parents' generations did, but it's looking a little ugly. So what do you do now that the person that you voted for did or did not make it in? Now what? This manifesto, this book, shows you how to keep things going, and the nowwhat.network website shows you those things as well. The Conversation Project lives online at thisisconversationproject.com. Our website home is where you can find where your voice helps shape the news. You take your voice and you go through the stories we say, and we talk about what you want to talk about. We talk about the stories that truly impact your lives, that are actual conversational, that really are in there, not just overdoing what the network media does. Yes, we talk a lot about Trump because Trump needs to be talked about, but we don't talk as much, and we're not just an overblown megaphone for the same story over an hour. we do insert other things that are interesting, that are fun, and that also may have gotten missed that you might actually want to know about because at some point in time, it's a kernel of something that really means something to you. So we post trending news articles around the globe every 50 minutes or so on social media. You engage by clicking, voting, and sharing your thoughts. And the more headlines we get, the more engagement gets there, the more we talk about them, chances here for these shows and in some of our short clips as well. This is theconversationproject.com. It's the place to get deeper and discover what's happening beyond the surface of news. So get involved and be thoughtful, decisive, and diverse and divisive. You're all those things and more at our website. This is conversationproject.com and via our social media channels. Follow us on the feeds, of course, on Facebook and X. Email me anytime you feel you need at theconversationinbox@gmail.com so that we can also go deeper into discussions as well, so we can help tweak what's going on here. With that, we're done. And we're done in pretty good time for today. I thought we were going to get a little long. I did get a little bad with the voice and saying cicadas like 12 times so I can get the right clip. Hopefully I get the right clip. But thank you for being with us and being with us all this length. If you are enjoying what we're doing, make sure you share with other folks and give me a comment. Let me know what's good and what's not good so we can work on making it better. I love you guys with all my heart and want to remind you to stay limber, stay hydrated, and stay on task for all the grand things you are here to do. Life is a marathon, and do not try to make it a sprint. We're going to be back all week long as far as I can tell. We're going to do more promotions on the personal side, be some books and some other projects that the More Bad Media stuff is doing so we can grow things there. And we'll get some insights on how things are going, some updates on things going forward in the future as things are getting a bit scary in this world today. I'm starting to actually be a little worried about speech and who gets to do speech and who gets out there. And it's more than just I have fewer followers than other and the algorithm doesn't like me as much. It really is who's really get to say what and who people listen to and who people actually fact check and who people actually use as research. That's not research. All my research is coming from news articles, news sources. You can check the sources. I have links to all those as well. I use multiple sources in most cases. There's just the one links I get to you guys, but check it out. Everything is backed by some sort of article, even if I get crazy in the commentary, but everything's backed by some sort of news article that you can go through and sift through yourself. Also, use our sponsor, Ground News. Go to thisisconversationproject.com/ground news and sign up for one of their plans, and they can help you decipher as well. Another sponsor. Snuck that in because I had time to do it. Thank you so much for joining us for this Monday, March 17th edition of Things You Might Have Heard. Happy St. Patrick's Day. Wear your green or don't get pinched or get caught up in any sort of HR distractions because that could happen. Love you. Mean it. Second time I said it. We're out of here.